Welcome to the Curriculum Programs Committee meeting, and I'm turning it over to Melissa.
Okay. So first up, we have Tom Hack is here to talk about the Lifewise program that we are going to start with our elementary students. He and I have had several conversations about the program. We're going to start a pilot at Buckeye, and then hopefully they are going to grow it throughout the elementaries, and then I would imagine up through middle and high school. But right now, we're just starting with one program. And he's just going to talk about what it's going to look like and what the program's about.
Terrific. And thank you very much. Thank you for the invitation to be here. So I'm just going to presume that there's a very low understanding of Lifewise. So I'll start from the beginning, and hopefully that will establish a good baseline for your understanding. So the fundamental basis of Lifewise is really a 1952 Supreme Court decision, which permitted public school students to be released for religious instruction with three caveats. The first one is not on school property. Second one is no cost to the district. The third one is parental permission. So with those three things in place, students from public schools can be released and attend religious instruction with those criteria in place. So that's been in place since about 1952, so for about almost 80 years that has been the law of the land. But it can be pretty complicated to work with districts to achieve all those things. And so there have been people that were aware of it. Frankly, I was not aware of that Supreme Court decision until recently. But there have been people who were aware of it and had worked with their districts to implement localized religious instruction. Lifewise came online in 2019, and the goal of that organization is to kind of reduce the activation energy for people to be involved with engaging with their district and establishing a program. So it's almost, they call it a plug and play, and for those of you who have an IT background, it's basically you take something and you plug it in and it automatically integrates with everything that's there. Another way of looking at it is almost like a franchise. They have taken care of all of the, here's how you do X, Y, and Z. And literally they have thought through most of the processes and interactions between the district and with parents and with the school and how to run a program. So they have really gone A to Z on how to run a program. Obviously, just as with the franchise, that's half the battle. Certainly you need to know half the battle, but execution is the other half, and that's what the local team has to do, is to actually get the infrastructure in place. So still staying at a pretty high level. I was part of a pilot program that ran for about 18 months. We got to the point and we actually sat down with Dr. Rattino, I think in May of this year. Is it still this year? It's still this year.
Yes. It feels like 100 years ago.
It does. It does.
Yeah.
And so with that, we actually, with that introduction and explanation of how we were planning to move forward, and I should back up. House Bill 8 was passed by the legislature and signed by the governor at the end of last calendar year, so the end of 2024. In the lame duck session, that bill was passed, and Governor DeWine ultimately signed it, and there were some changes. Originally, what it changed the language to basically was that school boards must work with release time religious instruction entities to move forward. Again, those three criteria are in place: not on school grounds, no cost to the district, and parental permission. But the law does, HB 8 does ultimately compel districts to work with release time programs. So with that, all that in mind, and having had the conversation in April, we were looking for a program director. And frankly, there were some people kind of kicked the tires, but nobody was willing to take the role on, bless you. And so I chose to step into that role as the program director for the Lifewise at Riverside. And again, I was on the steering committee for 18 months before, so I had a pretty good baseline for what was happening and how to move forward. So we established a leadership team, which is still in place, and we're growing that. But I had based on that conversation in May of this year with Dr. Rottino, Melissa, Dr. Malacher became our point of contact, and we had a conversation, and we had been thinking about how to approach this, and we were thinking perhaps Buckeye was a place, and confirmed that with Dr. Malacher, and so that's what we're aiming for. So what does it look like? We're looking for a pilot program. We are targeting that to start the first week of November. On our side, we do have the requirements for a classroom engagement is a teacher and then 3 volunteers at the elementary level. As you go to higher grades, there are fewer volunteers that are required, but at the elementary it's 3 volunteers. So we hired our teacher actually last night, and then we have people who will volunteer to be volunteers in the classroom. So we are it's off-site, and so we have been working with the Church of the Brethren, which is just down the street from Buckeye, and the intent is to walk the students to and from that location. And that is not typical, but that is something that other programs for Lifewise have done, where they have a church or some other facility that's close by and they want the children back and forth. It's about, I've walked the distance. It took me about 4.5 minutes.
Did you walk it in little tiny short
So
or did you walk it in Tom Hack steps?
Well, that was, I do walk pretty casually, so it's about 4.5 minutes. So it's going to take 6 to 7 minutes probably on a typical day.
With little legs.
Yeah, little legs and what have you. But it's definitely eminently doable, and so that's where we are. So you may be curious as to the curriculum. It's a non-denominational curriculum. It focuses on the gospel. It does not get into what people, there are obviously different denominations because people have different interpretations. Those areas are not highlighted. It's focusing on the baseline of the gospel, and it does cover all 66 books of the Bible over time. But it's non-denominational, and we have several churches that are part of the effort. I guess I probably should have mentioned that it is a community-based effort. When we were in the steering committee phase, we had 3 churches: Painesville Assembly of God, which is where I attend, Painesville Baptist Church, which is just down the way on Riverside, just off of Riverside Drive on, was it Park? Mm-hmm. And then we also had Grand River Baptist Church, which is down there on the corner of Riverside Drive and Madison Avenue. So, and then we do have support in other churches as well, but not necessarily a full engagement, if you will. Hopefully I've covered the basics, but I'm certainly available for questions if you have any.
Okay. So is there something going to be sent to parents?
So now I'll back up a little bit from the school side and kind of fill in some of the holes. So what we decided to do through conversations is to start with the 3rd grade at Buckeye. We're going to start just with 1 grade level this first semester, with the idea that we will then expand. We don't send home that kind of information from a school perspective, but the organization is finding ways to advertise, for lack of a better word, and get the word out to students. It really is no onus on the district. It's like Tom said, it's all organized and run and taken care of by the Lifewise organization. It really was a plug and play. I mean, it was kind of nice. We just had to work out the logistics. So we've identified the time. We have a meeting with the building principal, with Cassie, next week to kind of go over again where they're going to pick the kids up, what kids will be going at least at the outset, how will we get them down there. They'll go during their lunch and recess time, again with parent permission. If students need a lunch or get a lunch, you know what I mean, that will be packed up for them and they'll be able to take it with them that day. So it's been I don't know how you feel, Tom, but I feel like it's been a really good partnership. Interesting to see how it's going to grow, you know what I mean? Like I said, the idea is then we'll expand it to all of Buckeye and then start one at Melridge. Melridge, they won't be able to walk anywhere, so we'll have another variable in there on getting them somewhere, but it's been a great partnership, I think, and it's giving our kids some options. And I don't have a problem with that at all.
I'm just curious, but with your partnership in other schools, do they all walk, or is there a transportation piece on your guys' end that help?
So Buckeye is unique, and the other schools will require transportation.
But on that, with the organization, not on us.
Right,
Yeah.
right, correct.
So that's something Lifewise offered?
We will have to, so typically what happens, and certainly, so to be, so we have the pilot program going at Buckeye, which we plan to launch the first week of November. We do, and it's third grade, 1 day a week is what it is. We hope to expand that to all of Buckeye next semester. And again, we utilize Church of the Brethren as the location for that instruction. We also, next semester, we hope to have a pilot program, which would be 1 grade at Melridge, and that would require transportation. Typically what happens, a typical scenario is to utilize the transportation that churches have, the vans and things like that. So there's, in some ways, a built-in infrastructure, but not, it doesn't always, there are going to be gaps. As the program grows, we will, again, on our onus, we will have to raise the funds to make sure we have everything in place from transportation and drivers and things like that to make sure we are fully capable. Another aspect, so Lifewise is completely insured. There's no insurance onus or liability on part of the district. We are responsible for attendance, and that can be viewed by the district at any point. And we are targeting, so that the law, HB 8, also states that you cannot have religious instruction during core hours, so your math, science, language, arts, etc. So it needs to be done during the special, but many programs operate over lunch and recess, and that is what we are planning to do with the third grade in the pilot, and hopefully we can, as much as possible, focus on lunchtime for that religious instruction. So literally there's, from an academic perspective, there's no impact whatsoever.
Mr. Hack, I've heard rumor, I don't know how true it is, but I've heard rumor that sometimes it snows here in this area. Rain, et cetera, so inclement weather could be a huge barrier. And then especially when you do the move to do the entire school, safety comes to mind on not only the weather, but also does Lifewise have the personnel to safely move 100 kids or 75 students? I don't know how many would be involved at any given time, to be able to safely monitor and move them. And is lunch and recess enough time to walk 6 or 7 minutes, 5 minutes to get little kids seated, deliver the program, 5 minutes to get them in their lines and back out, and 6 minutes to walk? Is that really something that is realistically can be accomplished and deliver the program?
That's a terrific question, and so I did participate in in-person training, and Lifewise is located in Hilliard, Ohio, and I just there by the end of this school year, Lifewise will be present in over 1,000 schools. Many of them in Ohio, probably half of them are in Ohio, but Lifewise has a presence in at least 36 states. So it is a national effort, a national engagement. So to your point on inclement weather, certainly we will purchase umbrellas and things like that to make sure that the kids are sheltered during rain and what have you. If it's bitterly cold, then that's going to be a judgment call. Obviously, if schools cancel because of inclement weather,
we're just going to send them all to you for the whole day.
Indoor recess, we're going to call it.
Yeah, there you go.
Wonderful. We look forward to that.
We always need help. The other thing, though, too, to think about is that they'll be going on 5 different days. So they're not ever going to take 75 kids. They have to, because lunch and recess. So Tom and I have already talked about that,
That's a good call.
because lunch and recess don't fall at the same time for any of those grade levels.
Yeah.
So they will pick a different day for each of those, you know what I mean? So there's still, and they have about 50 to 55 minutes to work with, which in this particular case, I think we're okay. We both talked it through, and we think boots and coats and hats, it might be a different, you know what I mean? That's gonna be something to wrestle with, especially with the kindergartners, but for the most part, I think we're gonna be okay. But we did talk through some of that stuff. But that is how, so they're not ever gonna be taking that large of a group. You know what I mean? So that is one positive thing. It'll be much easier to work with.
Right.
So do
Than
they
other
feel, do
students.
they feel the safety, like it's not a safe day, like under, like you can cancel that day, right?
We can, I mean, certainly, safety is paramount.
Right.
So we would, we would use good judgment
Just like we
and,
do with.
I think even as we get through some of those, we can even have some of those discussions about, hey, today's not a good day, because of X, Y, and Z, and it's been very cooperative. I think the other thing is,
Yeah.
not only per our policy, but even prior to putting the policy in place regarding this, and having a discussion with the Lifewise people, the one thing that I said is, we need background checks, we need to see them. And they were very open, they said, absolutely, that is not an issue. So anyone working with students is gonna have a full background check, and that will be available to us as well. So we can see, the same way we do with any one of our employees, whether that's the person driving the van, or the person delivering instruction, or walking, or any of that. So really kind of from a safety standpoint, on that end as well, making sure that the right people are there to really safe.
Mr. Hack, have you ever heard of any challenges, legal challenges? I'm sure it's been dealt with, but legal challenges of a parent saying, this is not providing opportunity for my Jewish student or any other faith, that it would not be the biblically based.
right. So I'm sure that there have been incidences where people have maybe question what's going on.
Mhm.
So it is release time for religious instruction. So if there are other religions,
So that we would just have to
Yep.
would open
Right.
it up to that, and
It's-
that would safeguard us
Yes,
as a district.
this is
Okay.
none of our, this is
Got
all
it.
just
No.
me, you know what I mean,
Right.
talking with Tom and helping
Yeah.
to organize.
So if the Jewish community wanted to set up their own
Absolutely.
Lifewise, we would engage with them
Yep.
as well.
Absolutely.
Got it, okay. Got it.
I think the biggest difference between a Lifewise program, we currently do offer our spaces to some type of religious instruction. We have a couple of them through facilities use forum. So we have Fellowship of Christian Athletes that meets at both the high school and the middle school on off school time. The difference between Lifewise instruction is it's during the school day. Every other one is after the school day. They still use our facilities. They still advertise in the local churches. They don't advertise for them schools. They do kind of have a 8.5 by 11 flyer that they can put up. But it's not it's not necessarily a school advertisement around the page. So I think that's where the biggest difference in Lifewise is they are leaving the instructional day to receive this. I think the other thing we've worked out is lunches. I don't remember, but we did talk about if they're leaving for lunch that they have, that they will grab a lunch on the way out.
I've already talked to Michelle about
Yep,
it.
so they have a bag
So we're
lunch from
aware.
our
It'll
nutrition
just be
service
some
program.
logistics we gotta work
Because
out.
of the guidelines that are in place. It's not that we don't think Lifewise can give a good lunch, it's just that there are guidelines in place.
Yes, that we are obligated to.
There are federal guidelines we have to meet, so we want to
So
make sure we.
I
meet
just
those.
wanted to understand if we're not handing out anything, because obviously it's not a program, but how are you communicating with parents that they're aware, they get permission? I guess I just want to know that piece.
Sure. So to be honest with you, we're starting from scratch.
Mhm.
So we haven't figured everything out. So we've established a Facebook page that we hope to utilize to network to parents who might be interested in such a program. And again, this is not mandatory. This is with parental permission. So if families are not interested in this, then there's no obligation. It's strictly parental permission. So we are working through some of those things. We hope to gain some momentum.
Right.
And it's realistically the pilot program is probably going to be very small.
Yeah.
But with that introduction and kind of working through the kinks, we hope to be able to word will spread by word of mouth. And we anticipate that over time, those families that are interested will learn about what the program is and will choose whether or not to include their students in that program.
Okay, yeah, because I know we can't hand out anything for a policy. And then as far as directory information, that's not something we provide either, right? Or how does that work?
If there is a request, we provide it.
Okay, so it could be requested and then you would know who they were or
Right.
make
Dr.
contact.
Thompson, get ready.
Okay, I just want to be clear on how this
Director
communication.
information for FERPA is specifically spelled out as to what they can receive.
Okay, okay, yeah,
And it's
that
in-
is your
and it's in policy.
department. Okay, I just wanted to know how
Oh,
that
please,
worked,
please.
because there was something.
I have
think-
seen advertisements for our other programs like Good News Club. I've seen them on church signs
Okay.
as you drive by the community.
As I say, my suggestion, hit up the local churches and.
Yeah, Good
put
News
the
Club at
flyers there,
Parkside.
Where, where those families are already going on the weekends or at nights, whatever.
And the bulletins as well. I think that's who you're designated.
Right. Your blue board's gonna be-
Okay, all right, I just, thank you, thank you for the
And-
information.
Everybody's
we
asked
get
great questions, I think. You guys did a great explanation of it. So I just look at it as other reasons why our kids leave the school, right? CCP or Auburn, like, it's just another type of
Opportunity.
instruction where kids can go with the parents. Okay, so.
I think it's a very character-focused program too, if I remember correctly.
Right, it is, and it is definitely focused on character development, and I, from my perspective, our society could use that. So hopefully there will be opportunities, and there have been some studies. Lifewise is still pretty new. In fact, it's grown faster than they anticipated when they launched in 2019. Their goal was to be in 25 schools by this year.
Oh, wow.
And so clearly, growth has been, they've surpassed their growth by, multitudes. And again, they'll be in 1,000 schools by the end of this year. But the, where was I going with that? So the focus is on character development, and that is something that I think, I know where I was going. So it's relatively new, but they did do a study, and there will be updated studies, and they wanted to analyze, what happens to, absenteeism, what happens to bullying and things like that. And so the initial feedback is that those areas are improved. So the attendance goes up, bullying goes down, and that there are benefits to the schools themselves and to the classroom, because that character development does have an impact.
Well, thank you for coming this morning. I appreciate it. I will not be offended if you decide you wanted to
Thank you.
leave.
Terrific. So.
I don't know, I can't speak for anyone else. They might all be
Yeah.
super offended,
Well, let
Tim.
me-
I will not.
Well, I appreciate that, and I am going to take advantage of it.
Yeah.
My daughter, who graduated from Riverside as well in 2018, happens to be in town, and I'm going to go have
Breakfast with her, we'll enjoy. Have a very good time, yes. Enjoy, it was nice to see you.
She didn't want to come?
Yeah, she didn't want to come to programs meeting
Well,
and hang
I
out with
offered,
us.
but, I think she said she was going to be sleeping.
And then I will see you next
knew
week
she was
over at
smart.
Buckeye. I think next week is our meeting.
It is.
Okay, all right, perfect.
Right.
Sounds good. Thanks, Tom.
Thanks very much. Everybody have a
Thank
good
you.
day.
Okay, moving on. The next thing on the agenda is the Discovery Education Renewal. This is an ongoing resource that teachers use, K through 12. It supports the learning in the classroom. I just wanted to put it on here just so you're aware. It will be, right now the quote is $29,700 for a year. That's up about 8,000 from last year. Yeah, I may take the PD off of here, which brings it down to only up about 4,000. I mean, everything's going up, but teachers use it to support, especially science teachers, to support what we're learning in the classroom. So, but I just wanted to make you aware that is just a yearly renewal, but I didn't want you to be taken by surprise when you saw it on the agenda.
Is this an online resource?
Mhm.
Yeah, okay.
Yep.
So that would be coming out of general fund? Yeah.
Yes. Okay, wit and wisdom. So Denise, you had asked about changes in the current version.
Right, you had mentioned that after 1 year, the teachers felt that we needed to supplement with more writing instruction. So can you tell me a little more about that? And then was there any other discussion about time spent on it? What other adjustments we might be making after using it, you know, no pun intended, religiously last year,
Yeah.
the way it was supposed to be
So
done?
there is a writing component that they feel we need to beef up a little bit. So Abby is working with classroom teachers in our primary, at our primary level, to start to put in a more systematic writing process. I think what's happening is because they were so focused on their own grade level, they didn't see how they sat in the continuum, if that makes sense.
Right.
So we're trying to build up their knowledge about what's coming before and what's coming after, so they're more comfortable with what they are doing. Because if you don't see the big picture, do you know what I mean? So try to elevate their understanding of the writing within there. One thing we did talk about is that they put out a whole new Wit and Wisdom
Yeah.
after we bought it. Abby said it's really just a pared down version. So what they did is they realized, and this is what our teachers are saying, is that there's so much, we can't get through all of it. And so they shortened the lessons, which is what we're doing anyway. Do you know what I mean? Like starting to pare them down so they realistically fit into the time frame. I mean, the reality is we only have so much time during the day.
Right.
You know what I mean? We have to teach math, even at primary levels. If we're not focused on social studies and science and instead teaching it through the language arts, we still only have so much time in a day. You know what I mean? Lunch and recess and specials and all those other kinds of things. So we're just getting going. So even all of these updates on all of the programs, we're only 3 or 4 weeks into school. So we'll have a better gauge of how things are going here as we start to get into it. But I'm confident that where Abby is taking them is what they need and is supporting them with that writing piece.
Now, yet, in the new version, did content change, or was it just how many times you're going to reread this story?
It was more that. None
Yeah.
of the choices, I'm
Okay.
gonna Kleenex, I'm sorry. None of the stories changed.
Okay.
None of it was like you said, Denise, it just really is how many times are you reading through, what kind of activities are you doing, that kind of thing.
Okay,
So,
okay.
so that's where we are on that. And then,
Do you want me to have something?
what? Shush. You're gonna be on camera, blowing my nose. Benchmark implementation, that we're
Okay,
even.
yeah, before we go
okay.
there, I just have a
Okay.
couple more questions
Okay.
about Wit and Wisdom. So I know that some of our staff did visit Chardon initially, and they had made some changes. They are getting some pretty solid results. I don't know if the changes they've made, are we communicating like, what is gonna give us a bigger bang for our buck than
Are we communicating with Chardon? No, we
No.
are not.
Yeah, I just wondered, when we initially went, they weren't following the program verbatim, and we stuck to,
Correct.
let's follow it the first year and then make adjustments. So I guess that's the juncture I'm at now. Are we going to we are with the writing and paring down some of the time, because even Mentor, who's implementing this year in their primary, I have firsthand knowledge of hearing from a teacher that, wow, it's so hard for the kids to even attend that long.
Yep.
And
Yes.
how many times are we gonna reread this story?
Yep.
Yeah, so, because there's so much else to fit in the curriculum. But I guess, I don't know what else, they're doing, but I always feel collaboration is not a bad thing. I don't know if that's an Abby thing, or I don't know.
I don't know that, well, I agree. I think collaboration is great. I think we have to identify where our weaknesses are and where we want to get better before we start collaborating. So if we've identified that and Abby's comfortable, she meets with the instructional coaches across the county all the time. So she will probably be picking their brains and seeing what they're doing, I'm
Yeah.
sure, as the
Yeah,
year
I
moves
would
on.
kind of, that's one of the reasons why I mentioned the coaches, because, they're the leadership that's trying to direct that, through, you, and they are getting some very good results over there, and so is Kirtland, although Kirtland doesn't have this program. They went with a different program.
And they have a different population.
Yes, yes. But, you know, I'm just wondering about Charlie, who has the same program, who had made adjustments out of the box. And so, let's.
I don't know that they were systematic adjustments,
Yeah.
which is partially what I'm concerned about, what I heard. You know, when our teachers went to visit, it was more of, I decided, or this teacher was
Right.
doing that, rather than a systematic, and I would want ours to be more
And I would agree with that.
systematic, you know what I mean,
would
rather
agree
than
with that,
willy-nilly.
totally.
Which is why, as we start, you know what I mean, start to make changes and
Mhm.
maybe omit some things and
Mhm.
beef some things up, that putting those things in place, I think, will be a good idea.
Yeah, and even if our teachers are giving us feedback through Abby, that we're looking at that, and is that something we're seeing across the district, by grade level, whatever it is. that
So we do, and I
consider.
have built-in checkpoints probably every month or two, might be every 6 weeks, where Abby is meeting specifically with the whole grade level,
Okay.
and they're talking specifically about wit and wisdom. So that
Okay.
is, we have built in those
Good.
times, and I've actually done that with Benchmark and with CPM. So all of our
Okay,
programs have
perfect.
those built-in checks, okay?
All right, thank you, I
Yeah,
like
to
that.
get
I
that,
would
yeah, feedback from the
Interject, the
teachers.
other thing is, we haven't seen the impact of wit and wisdom yet.
Mm-mm.
It's
Yeah.
K2.
Yeah.
Yeah, right,
The assessments that are public are not till 3.
right,
So I think we're seeing it internally through MAP. I think we're seeing some growth, some good growth and some higher scores, but we're not seeing it on a report card.
no, we wouldn't,
Yet.
yeah, okay,
So just, I can kind
So
of
benchmark.
bundle the, well, let's talk about them separate, because CPM's a little bit more of a struggle. Maybe struggle's not the right word, but Benchmark's going fine. Again, we're just starting. We're only
Yeah.
4 weeks in.
Right.
They're struggling to figure out time. It's the same thing that we, you know what I mean, that happens with a program.
Cool.
So,
Mhm.
they're doing okay. Again, we've built in the time for them to meet as a team, talk to Abby, and that is 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th. I think it's, so 3rd through 5th has a little bit less struggle
Mhm.
because they have more time built into their schedule for language arts. 6th grade is struggling a little bit more to kind of accommodate the periods that you have in a middle school. You know what I mean? So
Right. So what about the 5th grade Buckeye and Melridge students at Plymouth? Would
It's,
they also,
a little bit of the same
A
thing.
little bit of the same
Yeah,
thing.
They
Okay.
do have a longer period for math and language arts over
Okay.
there than they do for science and
Okay,
social
so that
studies.
helps.
But yes, it does help, for sure.
Mhm.
But like with any new program, and the teachers are learning,
Mhm.
you know, 3 or 4 days ahead of the kids, so we're figuring it out. But like I said, they have those checkpoints with Abby and with Rich, actually, because he does a little bit more with the middle school and high school group. Rich will also, and that's down here too, be starting to work with our 7th and 8th grade teachers.
Okay.
I'm looking at a program for 7th and 8th grade.
Okay,
I'm really torn about what we do in that one, so we gotta look around.
right.
I wish I wish the pre-AP curriculum still existed. That's what we do in 9th and 10th grade.
Mhm.
And I really like it. It's a rigorous curriculum. I think it raises up every kid's ability, you know what I mean? But they discontinued their middle school program, so they're only 9th and 10th grade, so we have this gap, you know what I mean, between 7th and 8th grade, and it just kind of stinks. So we're gonna do a deep dive. Rich said he heard that they maybe were coming out with something else that we could use at that 7th and 8th grade level, so we'll be starting that process and in the spring.
Okay.
Be bringing
And
something
who
to the
else
committee.
uses benchmark at 3rd through 6th?
What other
In
schools?
the general area.
I have no idea.
Okay.
Mayfield does.
Mayfield does? Okay. Yeah, and I mean, it's just, I always feel that there's a lot of information to be shared, but that wouldn't be a network that Abby's in necessarily, so.
If they have instructional coaches, her and Rich would still be in contact with
With
those.
them?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and our partnership with the ESCNEO gives us a lot
Oh,
more
okay.
of a
Oh, yeah,
vast-
that's right, with
vast
NEO.
reach.
Okay, all right, thank you.
CPM's implementation, this one's a little bit harder because it's a completely different program for our math teachers. They are doing a fabulous job and they're working their tails off. Remember, this is just 6th, 7th, and 8th grade right now. Next year we will scale it up to the high school. But it's just different. So Sarah is our math coach now, and she has taken over that role while Katie's doing some more data things. What she's seeing, the amount of writing and thinking students are doing about math and math concepts is amazing, she said. It's like she's never seen, and she's been teaching, I don't know what, for 15 years.
Okay.
So she is super impressed with what the kids are having to think about and talk about with regards to math and their understanding. So I'm excited for the first couple of weeks. It's hard on the teachers though. So we're talking about giving them a little bit of more release time than just our normal PD days to work through some stuff as a grade level. Teachers are very concerned about quizzes and tests because the program is so spirals so much, which means it doesn't always just test you on the topic that you're studying right now. So it goes back a lot, and that is, it's a tough thing to wrap your head around if you have taught more traditionally, you know what I mean? But like I said, the teachers are doing a phenomenal job. I'm really very impressed with how they're implementing. Sarah's been in tons of classrooms. She's providing them resources all the time. They occasionally reach out to Katie, but we've kind of shifted that whole thing to Sarah, which has been a really good shift for her and a good thing for her to kind of take on as a new coach.
Right. And with these new programs, I know teachers were able to have the material over the summer, that were able to get training. There's ongoing training,
Yep.
right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. So the spiraling, is that like the way everyday math used to be? It would be on multiplication, but then we'll go somewhere else and then come back.
And then it comes back, yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
So it's not just, this
I
is
know.
our chapter on graphing or geometry, and we never see that again. You
Yeah.
know what I mean, for the rest of the year.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
it is just a different approach to math.
Okay.
I really like it.
Mhm.
I'm reading through all the student notebooks right now. I think it's a really good, it just makes them think about math differently.
Well, and so much of our testing zeroes in on being able to write and explain your answers.
Yes,
It isn't just calculation.
correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Okay.
Okay, touched on the ELA curriculum, where that's coming this year, and then I will let Camille do preschool, give you an update on that.
Sure. So preschool's off to a great start. They are really enjoying having all 4 classrooms being in the same location. Gives them an opportunity to work together and to collaborate, having all those resources in the same space. They completed most of the beginning of the year licensing requirements in terms of their professional development. So first aid and CPR, communicable disease, and child abuse have all been, they've all participated and completed those trainings. So they're ready for their licensing visit once they come.
And the licensing requirements, has that been reduced by the state?
The licensing requirement has not. The step up to
Okay.
quality.
Step up to quality.
Demands for professional development have decreased from
Okay.
15 to 20, or 15 to 10 hours. However, we're
Yeah.
not planning to participate in step up to quality
Okay.
as we move forward. The only caveat to that is the state has, indicated that any type of funding that might come available could decrease our opportunities to participate. However, that hasn't, in my experience, been something outside of the recent free curriculum that was offered to programs really impacted our public school
Well,
preschool programs.
So we don't necessarily qualify
That's
at
correct.
Riverside. Right.
Absolutely.
Right.
Now, if funding were to become available, we could also always reinitiate our participation in step up to quality should there be some incentive to do that. So
Okay.
we still have that opportunity should we, not do that this year, which is our plan.
Okay, so if we make any changes in location of program, and remember we were worried about how
Yes.
we would be approved, because there's a lot of red tape there. So then that would not be part of the equation.
Correct, the step-up to quality piece, just licensing.
So there's nothing else, even if we're not participating in this, that says we have to go through a certain thing? I mean, if a school already does everything as far as fire and all these kind of things.
Well, that would be, there's some building-specific things that would
Yeah.
have to be, yes,
Right.
we'd have to let them know that we're changing location, and yes, we would have to apply
Okay.
for a license in that building, which would mean a fire inspection in that location, and all of the other requirements in terms of posting and staff requirements would
Right.
follow, of course, but those would already be in place.
Right, and our preschoolers don't eat lunch there, so you don't
Correct.
have all that.
Correct.
Okay.
I think one of the tricky things with preschool now is they are not under the Ohio Department of Education and Workforce.
Mm.
They're under a different entity.
Children and youth.
And so
Children and family services.
So working with them is a little bit different than working with it's some unfamiliar territory, I think on both ends. I think we saw that even in the fall, when we moved all 4 classrooms to Mellon.
Oh, yeah.
Was some of the transition as well, and they're a newer department. And they're new to having preschool, so working with them collaboratively does provide some challenges with that and Department of Education and Workforce when they realign.
Okay, all right, and then I just want to touch base on 2 things.
Sure.
One, right now, we have all 4 in one location. Yes, there are advantages to having them there. It does crowd Melridge a little bit, but then we also are going to have some space at Riverview, and given the fact that we have 1 less kindergarten, we have some sections that are 5 sections at a grade level that are requiring additional space that will be graduating, so then, it's going to equal out, that there may be those 2 extra classrooms to move the whole program. But it's all going forward, we never know with the development if we're gonna need that space.
Sure.
So I just, I'm not opposed to it, but I didn't know if that was something here, or does that go back to facilities? I don't know.
I mean,
When
my
you
rec-
say development, are you talking about the
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 developments in the area
Oh,
that
okay.
feed into the school.
Oh, okay.
and
They haven't started
enrollment.
that Sibley development
Well,
yet, though,
but
have
we
they?
have others that, Greystone is 72, Harbor Crossing's 52, and they're still finishing up Fairway Pines. Are those 3?
I think Fairway Pines is pretty built out.
Yeah, it should be pretty.
Okay, I just was wondering, they
Yeah.
haven't started that
Right.
infrastructure over there?
Right, exactly.
Okay,
That's-
so hopefully
that is
that'll
done-
give us
that
some
is
room to
delayed.
do preschool.
But it's interesting that, we had 1 less kindergarten at Buckeye, 1 less at Riverview. We combined classes at 2 other schools, just because of the numbers.
Mhm.
And so classroom space here and there, it eases it, but then we never know when we're going to get a bubble class that is more than what we anticipate.
Of course.
And sometimes Melridge, who has been 2 sections at a grade level, they did have a bubble class that graduated last year, where there were 3 sections, and then you have to make room for that. Yeah, okay, all right. And then, what was the other thing I wanted to ask? Just, about the playground.
Sure.
Is everything moving along with
So
that?
just yesterday, I got a final
Okay.
view. We did sit down with Ryan one last time to talk about the space and the different, the recommended pieces of equipment. I did feel like the climber was small for our age group of students compared to what we had talked about. So I did, recommend that happened. So this final draft did include a larger climber as well as swings.
Okay.
And the space looks good.
Mhm.
So I think that we're ready to move forward. They've been doing some final quotes
Mhm.
to ensure that we had the funding to move forward with what we'd like to see happen there.
Okay, and then we do have some storage, because I know we didn't
Yes.
have it in the building, so
Yes.
that would be good. And then just reaching out to our high school program for construction, or, I don't know, if welding may be involved, but who's doing that, and they need some lead time to know, and there may be a possibility of donation of some materials.
Correct. I know Melissa and we talked the last time that we met that we have all those pictures, and I'm happy to be.
Well, we
the
can't
contact.
do anything till we have a space to build. I mean, I think this is what we talked about last month, and when you first brought it up. I can't have them do anything until we have that space, so nothing's happening until after the first of the year. They know about it, I've talked to the teacher about it.
Okay, so they're
Yeah,
aware.
Yeah,
They're
yeah, he
aware.
knows.
Because
And
I
we
don't
have
know how
material
much
money.
drafting, planning that, what is the space, all that kind of thing, looking at plans. I mean, it's just like building a house, and it takes time to plan and go through a process, and if the class is only meeting so many times, you need lead time so that you're ready to go if we can go in the spring. Okay, all right, I just want to make sure it's not going to be delayed, so, okay. Is that it for preschool then?
That's all I have to say,
Okay,
yes.
thank you so much.
Sure.
And we have good enrollment. Do we have a waiting list still?
We do. So at the first week in September, once, the kids arrived and, actually who came to school, we did have 5 typical openings. However, Cynthia Mahoney is working incrementally through the wait list. And she had made it through all of the families who had expressed interest in the spring and is now moved on to our more recent waitlisted students.
Okay.
And has offered those spaces to families. So
Okay.
they should be filled.
So we are able to accommodate it?
We are.
Okay, good.
And then we have plenty of, openings as we are evaluating students with disabilities,
Okay.
both in the morning and the afternoon to.
And one question I had, because I know you had a lot of experience with preschool, did
Sure.
you only do the half day or did you ever have a full day option?
We did have a full day option for our students with more significant disabilities.
Mhm.
And last year we did reduce that to half day. It's a very long day
Mhm.
for a child. Our program was 5 hours, so we didn't have to do nap time, or
Right.
we did do lunch, because nap time can be really hard
Yeah.
at school as well. And didn't find that the benefits outweighed some of the struggles or the barriers for them to be able to participate for that long. So if a child is interested in a full-time position, we do have an option for them to attend at like a program like Broadmoor, which is a service provider for us.
Right, because I know Perry had the half-day programs and the more involved students were in a half-day. But then they had a full-day program, but that was just something that parents elected to do. And they
Sure.
did have nap, they did have lunch, and they were
Yes.
there all day. But it was just one of 3 units. Yeah,
Right.
okay. I just wondered what your thoughts were on that. Okay, all right. And you have to report card review.
Chris does.
Is that you? Your turn?
Yeah, I was gonna, I was gonna put it up on the TV screen, so I'll just have to describe what we're going on with the report card. First of all, I will mention, the board meeting Thursday night, we would like to schedule a work session as we do every year to kind of go over and dive deeply into the report card. I think that's the best place to do it. Also would like to have Katie Lineweber there. She's currently out on medical, but work with her to make sure she can be there. So she can work through a lot of the data that she's digging into on here and kind of some of the stuff we're doing.
So would this be in October then?
It would be in October.
Yeah, thank you.
Overall, kind of looking at where we are with the report card, it is almost identical to the one last year. So much so that achievement is the score on every single state assessment that you take, is it was within 0.3 points, so it is statistically the same. We achieved the same that we did last year. Some growth in areas in different places. We're seeing a lot more advanced scores on tests, which is a good thing. It's a growth. It means that our personalization is working and pushing our high kids along the way. We're seeing that kind of correlate in value added as well. Value added overall is an area of growth for us. We know it is. It's a 3-year measure, which makes it a challenge to dig out of that 3-year hole. It's a 3-year composite, but again, we were below what we expected to be at. I thought we were going to be kind of out of the hole, but we slipped up in a couple areas. So it's an area of focus for us this year, really working to grow all of our students. The biggest frustration of mine with that progress rating and that value added rating is that the area and the data that you can use to dive in to grow on doesn't come out for another month or 2 yet. So we have this grading, we have this report score, but we can't really dive into the deepness and the real looks of it until, middle of October, if not November, when it kind of comes out to really kind of say, hey, this is these are some areas where we really need to focus to make sure that we're looking to drive forward. So I think that has always been a frustration of mine. And the reason is because of the vendors, the way that it works. When the state testing closes, it closes in about, state assessments, when you're done reporting them in EMIS, I think is early August, and that gets shipped out to North Carolina. North Carolina, a company called SAS EBOS does actually the value-added calculation. Once the data is with them, they then ship it back up, have it for the report card date, the initial, but then the actual meat of it underneath comes later on. So it's something we definitely want to take a look at to make sure we're growing kids in specific areas and what areas we're meeting. And it's really great information that comes out. So we know some preliminary information. We know our students with disabilities are showing growth typically across the board. We also know that our gifted students are showing growth. It's our I guess the middle group is the group we need to work with, and some pretty specific targeted areas. Overall, from gap closing, we were 4 stars. We were 4 stars last year. Same with their graduation, we moved up to 4 stars. We're really proud of that. We're continuing to work. We missed 5 stars by 1 student. Or a point of a percentage, and we really tried to make that work. It just didn't happen. We're pushing it again for this year. I think we're going to continue to see that rating stay at that 4-star or even improve to the 5-star level. And that's kudos to our high school, who is, and not only our high school staff, but also our EMIS coordinator, because a lot of the graduation rate is tracking students. When they enter their freshman year, they have 4 years to graduate. Or you have to find them into another school. So sometimes you have students who come in and they're transient, or they leave, or they say they're going to homeschool, but they don't necessarily communicate that. So a lot of that is, we worked through a lot of COVID issues as well, so that's been in the past. So we lost some kids to that, and finding kids was challenging. Graduation really kind of came through. We are tightening it up, between Cynthia Mahoney and registration and kind of tracking kids down, our guidance department making sure the kids have options, where they're going, and then also EMIS kind of making sure that, hey, these numbers aren't there, and if they're not there, then everyone kind of getting back on where is this student and find the student. So I think it's something we're pleased about, and not only the fact that we're getting our kids across the stage and working to find ways that they do graduate. Sometimes it's a sprint at the very end, as it always is. But we do our best to make sure that our students come through and graduate. Early literacy saw a decline this year from 4 stars to 3 stars. Early literacy is one of those ones where a third of it's based on what they do in the fall of the year, and summer slide definitely impacts it as well, so that we test them on the map at the fall and say, here they are, and kind of where they're going. The other third of it is in the 3rd grade reading score, which we did see a decline on the 3rd grade reading assessment this year for our students. Again, we won't see the impacts of wit and wisdom until next year, but these are students who came into us and didn't necessarily have pre-K instruction, or pre-K instruction looks a little bit different for them because of their situation. So when you look at early literacy, the one thing we don't compare it to is where they came to us from in that kindergarten readiness assessment and where they were on that literacy score. That's not on the report card, and we don't have control as to how we get them. So kind of having that concern, we could tell that these are, we're going to have a couple years of students who came into us with some, in terms of literacy, have had some struggles and to move them forward. So it's continuing to move that and move those kids and get those gains out of them and push those gains is really what we're trying to do, and making sure that we have that. Real bright spots in there, obviously 4th grade math is a stellar, the last one, college career, workforce, and military readiness is a graded area this year. We earned 3 stars on this. This is another one of those that's a year in the rear. So this is 2-year-old data by now, and it's just, are you checking the box along the way? Our 3-star rating is one of the highest in the county, actually, kind of moving forward, and it's an area that some of the programming and decisions that Dr. Malacher has made along the way is really kind of working to get some of these boxes checked, and we're going to continue to check these boxes. Things like the Ohio Means Job Readiness Seal, and then 250 hours of work-based learning. Every junior in English class who takes English 11 earns the Ohio Means Job Seal. That's not a common practice, but that's a practice and a decision that Dr. Malacher made with the English department moving forward, and it's really going to help us kind of raise that level now with the implementation of the capstone assessment for our seniors. So if we can get them to that point, they can check that box. Honors diploma is a box to check. SAT or ACT scores ahead of time. those are areas to look at. This isn't an area that we've actually, I don't want to use the word focused on, but really we've got kids to graduate, but now I think working with our guidance department is not only are they going to graduate, but we want to find a way for them to continue to check that so that they're ready. So that not only do they have a diploma, but they have a pathway. And I think our programming has led them to that pathway, and now it's, okay, in our point, we're going to work to check on a pathway. And I don't ever foresee us getting 100% in this. I think that should be the goal, but I think it's something we're going to move forward down the road, so we are checking boxes along the way. So we know that when our students graduate, they actually absolutely have a plan that's not, okay, I walk across the stage, now what? Then what do I do now? And, well, maybe I'm going to go find myself. Well, hopefully you found yourself for a while, and whatever you choose to do, but you have a plan for the next year, kind of moving forward and what that looks like. So something that we are definitely area of focus for our guidance for next year to kind of move forward.
Dr. Gino, on that, if students are leaving for CCP, so they're not getting the 11th grade English curriculum here, say, they're still in the denominator of those.
They are, if they're leaving for CCP, and they can count for the numerator if they get 9 CCP hours.
Okay.
So if
Yeah, so there's other ways,
yeah,
yes,
so
there
if
is.
they're
Yes.
going that college credit pathway, and they're going to take. We have students who get maybe 3 or 6 hours, and so it's a purposeful focus now. Where see where you are, how are you going to check that box? And okay, so you've got 6 CCP hours. Let's take another class this year, so you get the 9, so you can check the box and kind of go and give that an opportunity. We have some students who graduate and going to school as juniors. We have some who graduate with their undergrad degree. A lot of our students going to college have some sort of college experience, but it's getting the minimal hours that are there with us offering 31 hours on campus. Now, I think we're going to have more students be able to go that route if they're choosing college as their path. If they're choosing the career as our path, and maybe not Auburn, but they're going to go into the workforce, our career programs and our career-based skill programs are going to provide those opportunities for them, and also linking them to apprenticeships and internships. And with the new leadership at Auburn, really in working into finding ways that we can kind of kill 2 birds with 1 stone, offer some programming here, because a lot of times going to Auburn is a hindrance to not wanting to take that kind of program because you don't want to leave the school. Sometimes our students want to go to Auburn for whatever program they can get in, so it does have to be personalized to them, but really what that looks like in their opportunities and providing multiple opportunities for them along the way, I think is a good thing with this. So this is one where now that we know what the measure is, we kind of know how to attack it. Like I said, the downfall is it's a 2-year out. It's year in the rear data. So we're not going to see the fruits of our labor for 2 years, if not more. But as in anything in education, change is gradual and it's slow. We are tracking and trending in the right direction. So something that we're excited about. In terms of our individual schools, all of our schools are 3 stars overall and above. From the large school to the campus was 3.5 stars, and I think they were the same last year as well. I'm just going to double check that real quick. Yeah, they were the same 3.5 stars. Parkside and Buckeye were 4.5 stars, as well as Melridge were 4.5 stars. The issue with Melridge and Buckeye, it's not an issue, it's just a different denominator. When we moved 5th grade out, their scores, their grades their overall scores are based on 3rd grade assessments, 4th grade assessments. Their entire progress score is based on 1 grade of students, just 4th grade. 3rd grade does not get a progress, so that's a challenge for them, and that's a little bit different from in the past. That K3 literacy is still for them. They have all of those grades as well, but their scores look a little bit different. So Riverview is up to 4 stars. Really excited about that. And Lamouth overall was 3 stars. They were down from 3.5. So, I think that's an area we looked at. Areas of struggle district-wide, and areas where we're going to focus our growth on is obviously 5th and 6th grade math, the middle grades math. I think that CPM curriculum is really going to help with our math 6, 7, and 8 this year, because we're spiraling it, and that spiraling of that content is really going to help us drive those things forward. Some other things we're working to do: Magic School, the implementation of Magic School and the AI component that's there. Stacy Lucas, who works as a teacher and instructional coach for us, has taken some of that, put prompts into Magic School, and developed these writing prompts and these math type question prompts to give back to students on whatever subjects you want. So it really has an opportunity to use that AI component to help with some of those test type questions. We've also seen, we have access to, through the Educational Service Center of Northeast Ohio, a data dashboard of multiple years of experience, of question and history, so we can look at a historical longevity standard with sample questions. Katie Lineweber is getting that into our teachers' hands in our PLC groups, so that they're using that to kind of say, as a team, we struggle with this concept. As a school, this school may be a little better. What are you using versus to kind of share those resources and move forward, so they can really look at the types of questions and are we getting to the depth of understanding that we need to. So really changing our instructional practice that are based on data-driven decisions. Looking at MAP, looking at some of these benchmark assessments, see do they line up with where they're at? To kind of look at value added, because one of the things we see, we got the highest passage rate in algebra we've ever had. But still, when you look at the progress in algebra, we're still behind in progress. So it says something that our kids are expected to score higher, and now algebra works is it's an expectation. So what are we missing? Where does that look, and how do we continue to push that along the way? Where are these standards? So I think looking at where they're at, where do they come in knowing, and sometimes as a teacher we teach because we assume if I don't tell it to you, you won't know it. And sometimes they know it coming in, especially kids these days with all the information they have at their fingertips. So knowing where kids are, meeting where they are, and then driving and growing them forward is a really important thing. And that's one of the fundamental concepts behind personalized learning, is moving each student forward. It's something we're really looking forward to move along the way. So that is the overview on that. One thing that I will, obviously, Wit and Wisdom we talked about earlier, that's a K-2 program. We hope to see some of the benefits of that this year, if not next year, when they certainly have the science and reading instruction along the board. When you implement new curriculum, our hope for the first year of implementation, you do have an implementation lag. That's something that we are fully expecting some sort of implementation lag. And that's usually, hopefully we are maintaining the same in that 4-star rating. But it's not one that I would see. Yes, we put a curriculum in place. Do I expect to see these huge jumps this year? I really don't. I think we're 2 years out from that. But I think in the math, we're going to start to see that, especially there. I would hope to see the same, if not a little bit higher. But we do have the implementation of the new curriculum. And once you do something once, you realize, okay, reflect on it. What would you change a little bit, and how would you where does it impact? But I think we're going to see that as well as our teachers become more familiar with teaching the program.
And you mentioned some things at the, accelerated level. I know Julie Weber was working with some things too.
She is working to train our staff in gifted and come up with a comprehensive program for gifted district-wide. I think that's something where we are forever. I think this year we were half a point short of meeting the gifted indicator. It's so high, but we're getting closer and closer to that.
Yeah.
And how we continue to strive to get that gifted indicator. We're showing growth from a gifted standpoint, but in terms of achievement, we're continuing to kind of push the envelope. So again, it's about how do we provide strategies for our students, for our highest students, and what that looks like. But that comes through personalized learning, and I think even more the use of AI and the new Google program, which allows us to customize classrooms for students. So everyone doesn't get the same basic LMS, but you can customize assignments and all that, and it will really kind of help along the way to push that forward. So they're all things we're excited about putting in this year, throughout the year, and seeing them grow.
Okay, so I know we did the Google Plus and the Act Now.
No, we did not.
No, we
We
did.
did Magic School.
Oh, we did Magic School
Magic School,
instead of that.
yes.
Magic School. But how are those working?
So we are rolling them both out. We are, with Google Plus, one of the biggest things at Google Plus, from a security standpoint, has been great. We've been able to secure a lot of things. What we are noticing is from getting a lot more security alerts, whether it's from both Google Plus, but also from the fact that students don't have cell phones. So security is our filter. So when students search like now on their Chromebook instead of their phones, we're getting those alerts. So we're seeing that. But I think from a teaching and learning standpoint, what we're seeing is classrooms being personalized for students, and us sharing how you personalize those classrooms. Coming soon will be the availability of grading, and our teachers grading Google Classroom, and then they have to write those grades back into Infinite Campus. Google Classroom will, with the Plus, will write it back into Infinite Campus, and we're working with what that looks like along with other student data security measures as
Okay.
well. So we're really trying to tighten up that as well.
Okay, and then Magic School?
Magic School's been awesome. The feedback from that has been great. Our teachers are using it to, our teachers are using it to write, and in fact, our teachers are working to develop some protocols for AI use from a teaching and learning standpoint and also from a student standpoint. I think in education as a whole, from the university level even down, how do we use AI? What's it used for? What are the protocols? Is it allowed? Is it not? When do you allow it? When do you not allow it? What's my own voice?
On the form here to announce our.
So I think that's something that, in having a guiding program like Magic School helps with that. It gives our teachers a tool. It gives our teachers common tools where this is an essay you can develop. And then this is the rubric that comes with that essay. And Magic School will also go through and assess the essay based on the rubric that's there. Now I know that's a concern. Well, we putting my kids writing into AI, but the reality is, every single one of our state assessments is graded by AI. A rubric is put in, it's all graded by AI. Our students, for us to do well on assessments, our students, we need to have the same game. What we found when they use the AI grading is truly, when we talk about grading, it needs to not be a grade like an ABCD grade, but a level of competency. Because in the fall, when our teachers grade based on the rubric at the end of the year, students are scoring lower, and they should be. But that grade in itself looks like, it's a lower grade. Well, it's not. They're just at a different level. They're not expected to be that high. So when you use so typically when a teacher grades it, they grade it where they're supposed to be developmentally, but AI grades it as to do they meet the standard or not. So it's more of a, and they're developing, and you know what? You should be developing in the fall because I'm not doing my job if you're not. And I'm going to take you to that level of proficiency. So I think that's something we're seeing come through, and it is changing about how we talk about it and communicate about mastery of material and learning and all that. And it's a shift because as everyone, we are used to giving out grades, and those grades indicate this is where we are. And really, when we're talking about proficiency and mastery learning, it's about really where do you act up towards where do you relate towards a standard. And I think that's what AI is helping us do. Now it's communicating that out.
Okay. All right, well, thank you. All right, so our next meeting is October 20th at 7. Is that
Yep.
still good for you?
Yep.
All right, okay. All right, October 20th. Thank you,
Perfect.
everyone.
Thank you.
7 a.m. Robbie is not going to be happy.
Yeah.